Hello and welcome to Mangatory 96, and today we're going to talk about Classroom of the Elite. Today we continue with exploring the relationship between Honami and Kiyotaka. But before we start, here's the spoiler warning, as I'll be spoiling a lot of things in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I would highly recommend that you go and read the light novel, as it is an enjoyable read. For everyone else, let's start with the relationship between Kiyotaka and Honami. While recalling her deal with Miyabi, where she has to date him in exchange for securing enough private points to save one of her classmates from explosion, she felt the impulse to go out of her way and override it somehow by confronting her crush, seeking to meet out and talk with him. She was very happy that Kiyotaka invited her to his room out of concern for her about what she is going through in considering Miyabi's deal. She felt somewhat awkward and nervous around him, unable to come up with a good topic to start their conversation off, as her mind was in disarray at the time while thinking over the deal with Miyabi and what to feel about Kiyotaka. To Honami, dating Miyabi was not an easy decision to accept immediately without sorting out her own feelings for Kiyotaka first beforehand. She worries that her own heart and mind might break apart emotionally sooner or later by possibly choosing to disregard the feeling she has towards Kiyotaka over the deal of becoming Miyabi's girlfriend to save her own classmates. In the end, the deal never did come to pass but fails, as Kiyotaka was able to successfully find a way to help save her from going out with Miyabi and losing her classmate. Her feelings towards Kiyotaka were also indicated when she would sometimes avoid locking direct eye contact with him during lunch with their classmates or even face to face despite having conversation with one another. More so, she primarily uses some kind of citrus perfume on herself for attracting Kiyotaka's attention, which is noted by the latter. However, when she stumbles upon Kiyotaka's unprepared and without her citrus perfume, Honami felt very awkward, nervous and embarrassed about not having made use of it ahead of time, and she's known this would have happened. This highly implies that Honami was ready to use citrus perfume at any time and any place if she had arranged an appointment meeting where Kiyotaka would be present. Even after losing to Ryuen in the event selection exam, she remained a bit optimistic and hopeful when meeting up with him and Susan in person, yearning to continue maintaining the cooperative relationship between their two classes solely because of Kiyotaka, not wanting neither of them to view or accept each other as enemies moving forward. Despite the end of the alliance between both their classes, she still could not help but not see Kiyotaka as an enemy to her own class. She greatly dislikes calling Kiyotaka an enemy, even when he said it bluntly. She admittedly refuses to go along with such notion just because they are from different classes. Honami will go so far as to deliberately rephrase her choice of words towards him to avoid the term enemy, creating distinctions for her own sake which she can refer to and describe Kiyotaka in a better light. He was the only one from his class that she feels this way towards compared to Suzune and the rest outside her classroom who she regarded as enemies to her classmates from or during their second year in high school. She even spoke up to defend Kiyotaka from her classmate Kanzaki, who grew wary of him and his ability, adamantly stating that Kiyotaka is not an enemy to their class. She would rebuke Kanzaki's remark with a forceful tone that she rarely shows to any of her classmates until this moment, appearing quite dissatisfied with his thorny, hostile attitude towards Kiyotaka. Kiyotaka had also admitted that Honami didn't once bother to try and raise any question about him hiding his real strength and abilities, all this while despite having aced the second year special exam with a perfect math score. Despite her willingness to rely on him, Honami dislikes the many instances whereby she appears vulnerable in front of Kiyotaka, as she wished to appear strong, decisive and capable, especially before him. She also felt it was unfair to burden him with such fortune matters. Yet she would frequently at times end up letting him hear her complaints and seeing her weaknesses regardlessly. She felt that he was always there for her and by her side whenever she was depressed. Once she revealed to him her weakness in his room, something that had been weighing down on her mind vanished. All she felt towards Kiyotaka was his act of kindness to reach out in helping her, although they are from different classes. No matter how many times she tries to push him away with her words, he refuses to leave her alone in a depressing, vulnerable state, as he wishes to accompany her until she was healed up and no longer in despair. Honami felt Kiyotaka was overly stubborn and forceful with her, Understanding he will go as far as to let himself become drenched wet in rainy weather like the former was doing if she doesn't do as he wanted. Not wishing to see Kiyotaka become sick because of her, she would give in to his demands, deciding to walk with him back to the dormitory together. She continued towards Kiyotaka, understanding that he doesn't like to stand out in the presence of her friends, and was able to find an isolated, quiet place to hang out with him privately, such as in his room. Whenever she is depressed and feeling conflicted while sorting out her thoughts about what to face in her second year of high school, she doesn't like the idea of returning to her own living room in the dormitory and thinking alone. That was only until Kiyotaka invited her to his room that she can gather her thoughts together and sort them out carefully with him, acting as her emotional support to slowly clear away the depression. According to Ryuji, he understood the fact that Honami happens to harbor an unnatural amount of trust for Kiyotaka. She acknowledges the fact that Kiyotaka was the one person who happened to understand her very well and feels that he is more trustworthy than anyone else. Having recalled being saved and comforted by his words in many instances, she feels her chest grow hotter and her heart beating faster by simply thinking of him at the time she spends with him during the day on spring break. She sees Kiyotaka as a special individual and takes his opinion to heart, hearing him out about the profound possibility of betrayal and a new faction possibility created by her classmates popping up in her class. She accepts his words of encouragement and wisdom, promising him that she will certainly make sure to move forward with her classmates and stick by them no matter what changes happen to their class. She even confidently reassures Kiyotaka that she was willing to let herself be expelled for their sake if they either ask her to or the former chooses to volunteer. Not wanting that to happen, Kiyotaka made Honami promise to meet one another again a year later, just between only the two of them alone to see how much she will change, noting that it sounded like he was confessing to her. When Kiyotaka declared he will not let her drop out of school by explosion, she was to stay on and not leave while feeling utterly flustered that he would say those words to her without sugarcoating. Recalling his exam score on the second year math test, Honami feels that he has a special weapon that ensures he may never be able to lose to anyone, including herself, which she doesn't have, unlike him who does. However, he on the contrary doesn't think so. He believes instead that she has something powerful and an unrecognized weapon that cannot be deemed a lost cause or a loss to her class. Honami was dubious when he said that nobody but her could wield it proficiently, especially when alone. She believes that if there was a chance that she and he were to ever be in the same class together, then all her worries will disappear and she'll go on fighting without any hesitation. On the other hand, he feels that he'll definitely fall for her if that situation ever comes to fruition. During the final day of spring break vacation as a former first year, Honami acknowledges that the special time spent with Kiyotaka in his room was more valuable and productive than the ones she had alongside her classmates and friends. In the following volume, where the uninhibited island exam began, it was revealed by her fellow classmates how Honami will get excited in inches whenever she heard someone mention his name in a conversation. Particularly, bringing out Kiyotaka's name was what subconsciously made her heart throb whenever she heard it. Based on what her classmates say, it shows that Honami could no longer suppress her feelings for Kiyotaka and from being noticed by them. By this point in the story, it is apparent that she sees Kiyotaka as a special someone to whom she was more than indebted and thankful to, but also dearly important to her alongside her other classmates, if not more indispensable than them altogether. This gratitude Honami felt towards him had not only led the former to deepen her trust with him increasingly, but it had also allowed her to develop more apparent sense of romantic attraction for the latter. After learning of Tsukishiro's plan to expel him, she felt totally restless and had a sense of growing unease and anxiety at the mere thought of losing Kiyotaka to explosion. She felt deeply uncertain and distressed about how someone like her can even hope to save Kiyotaka, but she still felt inclined to warn him of the danger, knowing full well the consequences of reaching out to him. She was easily able to betray the proposal she had with Tsukishiro without hesitation after he warns her to remain focused on protecting her classmates and looking out for them more than anyone else. She instead refuses to turn her back on Kiyotaka no matter the uncertainties. She would go as far as to abandon her precious classmates for him, putting his safety first before them despite knowing that her decision might end up betraying their trust during the exam. More so, this was to the point where Honami admits she can no longer pretend to not notice her own feelings for Kiyotaka or continue running away from them, but refusing to keep it hidden anymore by the time they meet each other face to face on the last day of such exam. She unconsciously blurted out directly to Kiyotaka that she likes him. She then realized what she just said before panicking and getting flustered, saying how she never felt this to anyone else before. Where, when Kiyotaka asked her about it, she finally said it clearly because she realized there was no going back. Although surprised, he thanks Honami for thinking that way about him, but told her that he couldn't give a response to her feelings yet. Note that neither of them is true with the uninhibited island exam. Despite him neither accepting nor rejecting her confession, she wasn't disdainful nor dissatisfied, deciding to wait for his answer until they both survived the test and returned to the cruise ship. Throughout this heroic action, she was able to understand that Kiyotaka will still deliberately continue to endanger himself by going for 12 for her sake and the classmates she failed to protect after not heeding Tsukushiro's proposal as a warning. When he was about to reveal his answer to her confession, Miyabi steps in and interrupts their conversation. Hearing from Miyabi that Kiyotaka is already dating Kei, tears uncontrollably drip down her face as she apologizes for being an idiot as she was ignorant and didn't know about this. Furthermore, she felt guilty for making Kiyotaka feel burdened by her confession. Shortly after, Honami recites the words she said in her confession scene, asking her crush to forget what she said back then on the island. Before long, she quickly walks off after learning of the fact that Kiyotaka already had a special someone as his girlfriend. She knew that it was natural for an amazing person like Kiyotaka to have a romantic relationship, considering the idea that he is so cool, great and kind to anyone who came to like and know him. With this, I covered everything that I wanted to cover on Kiyotaka's and Honami's relationship. And that'll be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to the channel for more manga reviews and One Piece content. And until next time, take care.